Hey everybody, it's Middlin Mecha Man back to you. Sorry for the absence. Picked up a second job, had a little bit of a health issue, but we're back at it. Today we are doing a Tribal Tuesday, and I am going to be bringing out the Black and Red Rat Pack Evolved. It's gone through a number of changes. Let's run through it real quick. Some 1 mana rats that you might expect. Swarm of Totem Faz, some removal, Innocuous Rat, Persistent Marsh Stalkers, some bats also, rats, the Valley Rock Caller, the one squirrel in this deck, some damage, Impact Tremors, the Rat Catcher Trainee, Tattered Ratter. It's a mostly black deck with a little splash of red, strategic splashes of red. But by and large, it is full of black rats. And, of course, the requisite amount of removal. The Screaming Nemesis, of course, is my one attempt to combat life gain. The other aspect of this deck is that it has the potential to... well, not really the potential, but at times it can indeed outgain an opponent. Or I shouldn't say outgain an opponent. I should say kill them so quickly they don't have a chance to gain life. Not all that often. Finishing up the Ogre Chitterlord. As you'll see, all these red cards pretty much either buff rats or increase the number of rats. Kind of the main strategy of this thing is to go wide, get tokens out, numbers, and to attempt to overwhelm the opponent with as many rat tokens as you can muster. Apply the style to the new card there. So that's it. Right into it. First match, I'm going to show you, I think I have 4 matches lined up for you. I have edited them down. I have sped up gameplay just a hair. And these are all, I'll be honest, these are all victories. I did some cherry picking, but I wanted to show the deck being effective. Maybe I'll put together a second part of this showing how dreadfully bad things can go. So it looks like I did not choose to mulligan. I'm just going to play this deck out. I've got decent mana. I've got the Cavern of Souls here, so I can use that to specifically play a tribal type. As you might expect, we go with the rats. This is not necessarily a great opening hand, but I can get out at least one creature, and I have some form of removal slash opponent damage thing going on there. And I'll play just about anything. Just about. I'm pretty open to, seeing what happens, even if it doesn't look like a great matchup for me. Go ahead and throw out the Nemesis. It's there. I am playing a life game deck. I know that already, mostly due to the avatar and, of course, the Pridemate being, first card out. My opponent is definitely looking to get some life gain going on and soup up his creatures by doing so. I'm not going to block this. I am going to block this. Sorry. I guess I decided that having the mercenary would be worthwhile because at this point I'm not worried about losing that Nemesis. And if I can get wide, I'll go wide. So, go ahead and pump up the Nemesis, buff him, and take a shot. He's not going to block that. And now I'm pretty sure at this point that his next attack is going to be with that Healer Hawk coming over the top. He's not going to want to attack with the Pridemate because good chance I'll use the Voracious Vermin to block it, and he'll lose it. He doesn't want to do that. They don't want to do that right now. Charming Prince is not a bad play here. He is going to choose to... My opponent's going to scry 2. And I guess, the first name is Robert, so I'm okay with going with he. As predicted, attacks over the top, buffs the Pride Mate. That black mana was nice to have. Taken by Nightmares, and there goes the Healer Hawk. Again, trying to mitigate life gain as much as possible. And I've got the mana. I know it's going to result in a top decking situation for me at this point, but why leave spare mana on the table? And I like to force the opponent into decisions as frequently as I can. You know, choose which card to discard. Choose between discarding a card, losing life, or exiling a creature. Anything that forces the opponent into a decision, I think, is a good thing. Because it can lead to them overthinking a situation, possibly. No attack on this round. I'm going to sit back and play a little bit of defense. I want to, at this point, keep that Nemesis available for any kind of blocking. And there he's managed to bring in a card, bounce it off of another card, get himself an extra point of attack or toughness and attack there. That was not a helpful turn for me, so I decided to go ahead, cash in the Hopeless Nightmare, scry the 2. The Mountain didn't help me. I have plenty of red out already. I need creatures on the table is what I need, and there's the Typhoid Rat with the Death Touch. Could be handy defensively to prevent him from doing anything other than coming over the top right now. I hate to see a rabbit come out. Every time I see any kind of rabbit come out, I start getting twitchy because it just means that there's going to be more and more rabbits and they're going to get stronger and stronger. So yeah, let's get some Death Touch out there on the board and cause my opponent to think twice about sending any attacks. And again, we're going to lay back on this one. I am concerned about both the lifelink and now the rodent. Not my type of rodent, but my opponent's rodent choice. I feel a little bit fortunate at this point that he doesn't have anything with lifelink on the board, and I'm willing to give up 2 points here and there, and that was fortuitous, actually, to be quite honest. The additional Death Touch is very prohibitive now. I've got a couple of Death Touches out there. I've got that Screaming Nemesis out there. It's fairly solid defense for what my opponent is presenting me with right now. Temple of Silence, more mana comes out. He scries 1, puts it to the bottom, didn't like it, comes over the top, as it's really the only thing they can do right now. Daggerfang Duo, go ahead and throw it out there. Again, getting as wide as possible. And it's a good card. I like that card because, well, there are persistent Marshstalkers in this deck and a couple other things that will trigger once I have 7 cards in the graveyard. I chose not to scry there because I hadn't seen a Marshstalker in this match. And so I decided to go ahead and keep what I had on top of the deck and see how it came about. I decided to go ahead and attack with the 2 Death Touches there. I figured my opponent would not want to get in front of it, and I wanted to steal a couple of points at this point because the score is still pretty tight, and we're getting down to that 50% threshold where things can happen really fast. There's the persistent Marshstalker I was talking about, and I'm actually glad he didn't wind up in my graveyard because there's an 8/1 out there on the table all of a sudden. That is an intimidation factor. Even with the 1 toughness, it's still kind of a spooky thing to look at. I'm coming with all 3 Death Touches because I don't think my opponent wants to lose 3 creatures and have only at defense. Didn't choose to even block one of them. Took the full frontal assault, and now I've got a 2-to-1 advantage in terms of points. He still is pretty limited. I thought he might send more on this, but that he's trying to maintain his lifelink. You know, he's going to use it. You know, he's in a tough situation right now, and beefing up. You know, at this point, I'm going after him. He's got 3 blockers. I have 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. 4 are coming through, no matter what. He's got 1 card in his hand. I guess maybe I didn't look at that too close, but he could have played something. He's got mana on the table to be able to do it. I can't remember at this point if he had anything. Nope, just went with the straight blocks. Considered defense. Very carefully considered defense. Managed to survive another round. Right? And sometimes that's all it takes. It's a 1-7 game. He forces me to sacrifice a creature. I go with the rat token so I can keep the mercenary on board just in case that extra point comes in handy on the next attack. He's down to 2, I'm at 7. And he throws out a mana. And now he's done. He knows it. I knows it. He's got his attack. Yeah, I had a card I could have played to rub salt into the wound, but I tend not to be a salt rubbing type. And just go with the straight attack and take the victory. The opponent's problem there is I'm sure they were running life gain and they weren't coming across it in their deck. And they had more squirrels in there somewhere too, and I don't think they were getting their draws is what it boiled down to. So that was match 1. Moving on to match 2. Whenever I see this avatar, I think to myself, here comes the life gain. Here comes the life gain. This is not a great start. 2 mana, one of which is variable. I like these cards individually, and they do have some synergy. Patchwork Banner is always nice to have at the top of a match. Take a look through it and decide we are going to keep it. Okay, so going second. Take a minute, decide to throw out the Restless Events, I do believe. Always throw out the multicolored mana first when you can. Starscape Cleric would be a decent opening play, even though there's no mana for the Offspring, but it's still attacky, flying over the top kind of stuff, but countered with a defensive flyer. And that card that my opponent just played beats me a lot because it'll take out my useful enchantments and whatnot. And I think it's going to happen in this match, if I'm not mistaken. That Patchwork Banner will come out and subsequently go away. You hate to see a good card get taken off the board. Bringing more mana. A little bit of fetch lands going on there. Thinking about it and passing on the attack. I'm thinking about it. Go ahead and bring out the Jasper Flint. I do not play Heist, but I don't consider Jasper Flint to be a heist card because it comes from the opponent's top. The top of it, and it's random, and you don't get to go through it and pick and choose or anything like that. You take it or you leave it. It's there. Is it annoying? Is it stealing from your opponent? Is it playing your opponent's cards against them? Yeah. Yeah, it is. But not in the way a heist mechanic does, right? It's like, I consider it a couple of different things, even though it's like really closely related. Voracious Vermin, again, I like to go wide. This deck wants to put tokens. It really wants to put tokens out and get numbers going on and then attempt to buff them up. This, I was pretty sure that that would be the recourse, that there would be a block in there, but a ploy to get the Voracious Vermin goosed up just a hair so that I could return damage for damage. And apparently I am trying to point out the fact that I am just waiting for there to be enough mana on the table to get that Swarm of Totenfaz played out. Hey, look, I just need a little more mana to make it worthwhile. There's one more mana that's enough to get the Patchwork Banner. I want that on the table before the Swarm of Totenfaz goes out, so that when the Totenfaz triggers, those rats are automatically buffed. Because, again, I have haste when they get out there. Burglar Rat, again, I think a great card. I like it. Makes the opponent have to choose which card they want to keep, which cards they're going to get rid of. Again, anytime I can make the opponent think about something, it's beneficial, I believe. And there it is, right there. He's considering the opponent taking that Patchwork Banner off the table, get it off the board, and prevent a whole bunch of Buffy. At which point I said to myself, I might want to take advantage of this while I can. I prefer there to be at least 6 mana available to play this card. But sometimes that's just waiting too long. And I wanted to get the haste. I saw him eyeballing Patchwork Banner. I knew it was probably gonna bite the dust pretty soon, so I thought, let me assault while I can. 6 attackers against 3 defenders. I'm gonna lose some tokens, but I'm also gonna do some damage. Plus, those 2 rat tokens being cleared off the board. Got Voracious Vermin up to a 6/5. So, Planeswalkers, always an issue. Unfortunately for my opponent, this is not one of the more impressive Planeswalkers. And as you might guess, nope! You would be wrong. He goes with the Menace this time. Why? Because that makes my opponent have to double up on blockers. I've got 4 rat tokens. I've got that Voracious Vermin, right? And we just go straight for the opponent. I'm not worried about that Planeswalker at this point. With the Menace, my opponent doesn't quite realize it yet. He's going for one-on-one blocks. He's going to realize in a moment that's not going to work out. It doesn't matter what order there because that one's going to die. And now it is 1-20. And I'm feeling pretty confident in the outcome of the match at this point. Unless my opponent has something up there that is a board wipe, or otherwise will completely flip this thing around. And this looks to be a fairly comfortable victory. But you never can be too sure about things. Board wipe. Start over. But not a complete do-over. Numazi Linebreaker leaves behind a mercenary, and the draw of the day, Revenge of the Rats. Create a 1/1 rat token for every creature in your graveyard. And suddenly it's not such a flip any longer. My opponent is now looking down the barrel of 9 attackers on the next round if they don't figure out a way to counter it right here, right now. They're looking at their hand. They're weighing the options. Still weighing options. I'm checking to see how many cards they still got. They go for, what, the scry. Found something in there. Maybe was helpful. Maybe not. They're still thinking. They're still thinking. What am I going to do? I'm going to make another zombie. That's not going to be enough. I need to do something more. Got to do something more. Alright, there's at least another creature on the board. That's not enough. That's nowhere near enough. They know it. They concede. So there was a match where the board wipe could have turned it around, but I got just the right card to prevent it from doing so. Oh, we're on to the next one already. Keep it rolling, Middlin Magic Man. It's Middlin Mega Man, but on some days I'm Middlin Magic Man. The Valley Rockcaller, the one single solitary squirrel in this deck, but that's because, what does it do? Well, it takes points away from your opponent and gives them to you when you have other rodents present on the board. Rodents like rats. So this is one of my ways of attempting anyway, to counter life gain as well, is by having at least a couple of things that are life gain for me. Okay, the flying counter. So I bring out my flyer. I figure go ahead and get him out there early. The Bloodletter can come back even after being destroyed, so sometimes bringing it out early can do two things. A, bait out some removal, and B, be sitting there later on towards mid-game. And there it draws out some removal, and I'm never always that unhappy. Making a choice between the Butcher and going again. Get wide, get numbers going on, because that's good for the Valley Rockcaller. More creatures, more flip, more point flip. I'm playing kind of a black. I think this wants to be a resurrection deck of some sort. I don't think it really ever gets a chance to trigger. The Thornplate Intimidator, again, great card. Triple choice to be made. Do I want to lose life? Do I want to throw something away from my hand? Do I want to take a creature off the board? I'm going to take a creature off the board. And do I get aggressive on this turn? Probably not. Nope, don't get aggressive on this turn. We'll kind of wait and see. Maybe I'm thinking about that. I know what it is. It's that Tangled Sewer Witch. I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking if I can get one more mana on the board, and play that, I could put this game in really good position for myself. I'm also thinking about being ahead by 7 points, and what a sort of a not quite full attack might do for me. Did not get the mana. Did not get the mana, so I go ahead and increase my width. The rat catcher, throw 2 more tokens on the board, and now I like my numbers, and this is kind of ballsy, actually. But playing it now is like, you know, a huge flip to start with. That's a 5-point so flip. I'll go ahead and take it. I know that the rock, better than a 5-point flip, the Valley Rock Collar is likely coming off the board on this turn, because that's what I would do if somebody presented me with the opportunity to block that sucker off the board. I would as well. That triggers their crow to mill a couple more cards. They probably, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're trying to pull out of their graveyard along the way here, or that's the intent of this deck. I'm just not sure that it ever comes to fruition for this person. On the opponent's turn, and I'm rifling through my cards, trying to think what's going to come up next. I'm still waiting for that. I need 1 more mana to get that Sewer Witch out. I figure if I can get her out, this game is over. Now that little bit of removal right there didn't rattle me too much, but this one did. Right? And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, this could get desperate all of a sudden. But there it is. And at this point, the game is over. The opponent maybe isn't aware of it, but now the game is done. The Tangled Sewer Witch comes out, gives me 1 extra attacker, or 1 extra token, but gives everything a cursed roll token, and taking them off the board causes damage to the opponent, and in effect, they kind of kill themselves, is how that ends up. So, there we were. A few games, a couple of wins here and there, actually 3 wins. That's how the deck can play when it works well-ish, and the opponent, unfortunately, finds themselves maybe not getting their cards. It looks like all those opponents, they got their mana, they got their land out there and everything. They maybe didn't get the draws they wanted, but that rat deck can be deadly. It could be even more deadly than what we saw today, and maybe we'll pull it out again in a week or 2. But probably we'll want to move on to some other tribe to keep things fresh. Maybe we'll go human next time around or something like that, and see if we can't get our some soldier human. I used to run a really kind of fun human soldier deck, and maybe the next time we try a tribal, we'll go that route on it. Okay, hey, we're going to end on the victory screen, y'all. Thank you very much for taking the ride. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share and get the word out that Middlin Mecha Man is it's the thing, right? All right, catch you on the flip side, kiddos. Be safe. Be good. Ta.